Hello everybody, I'm Professor Kagan, and recently I just finished playing through the very good game, Luigi's Mansion 3, and I sort of wanted to give sort of an informal review of my experience with the game as a Luigi's Mansion fan, how I think it holds up in regards to the other two, and just my general experience with the game. And I wanted to start off by really getting straight to the point. This game is fantastic. It's super tremendously good. The amount of effort put into this game by the devs is really just on another level. Starting off, basically what happens in this game is it takes place after the events of Dark Moon, where Luigi and his friends, and later revealed Egad, I will be discussing spoilers in this game, so if you somehow haven't played it yet, and by the way, why haven't you, click away, because this video is going to be filled with spoilers, because I want to talk about the full game and give my unadulterated, unfiltered opinion. So, they are invited to this hotel by some unknown presence that we later know as a ghost woman named Helen Gravely. She's a big fan of King Boo. A really big fan of King Boo. Stalkerly a big fan of King Boo. Downright obsessed with him. And she releases King Boo and traps Mario, the Toads bring along with you, and Peach. Which, I think this is Peach's first official debut in a Luigi's Mansion game. She was mentioned in the original Luigi's Mansion, but she was never shown. Which is funny, because Bowser only ever appeared in the first game, and he hasn't been seen since. Funny how that works out, but Luigi gets to the hotel, and, his friends are taken in the middle of the night, and he runs away from King Boo, who tries to trap him as well. And he makes his way down to the garage, and he finds a car that you've probably seen before if you've played Dark Moon. And inside, he finds a brand new Poltergust vacuum. And I'll give my opinion on that iteration of the Poltergust, because my opinion on it has changed somewhat since I last talked about it in my Luigi's Mansion retrospective. And I've got some screenshots of the game to help me go along while I talk. So, at this point, you get your vacuum, you're introduced to ghost hunting, and you find Egad. And already, at this point in the game, you will have had the opportunity to see the characters emote and even speak. And it's so awesome to see Mario characters emoting and acting in this fashion. I later saw at the end of the game that there is a dedicated animation lead just for Luigi. And it shows. He is so super expressive. All of the characters are, but Luigi more than any of them. And it's really good to see just him flounder around this hotel, scared out of his wits, and just expressing that at the same time. Just every little detail. And there's a lot of detail. This game is really gorgeous, and it is so far away from the reveal trailer where the game looked maybe more like it belonged on Wii hardware. Not even really Wii U hardware, because there's better looking Wii U games than what was originally shown. And I think that was maybe just a very early build that they showed us, or they were still working on the high quality textures and didn't want to show those off yet. So, it is so expressive, and, you know, as I mentioned, it's not just limited to Luigi. Mario, Peach, Egad, Polterpup, even the ghosts. And the ghosts are very special, because they are humanoid ghosts. Those have made a return from the original Luigi's Mansion. Now, you don't put these in portraits like you did with the original humanoid ghosts back in Luigi's Mansion 1. This time, you just catch them. Except for one, kind of. I'll touch on him in a second. Basically, these ghosts all play their own part in the hotel on each floor. They serve their purpose, and they all have their own personality. Sometimes they have dialogue, sometimes they don't. They got, like, their own motivations and the sort, and they all love messing with Luigi. I'm gonna highlight a few that I really loved, and a couple that I really did not love, for one reason or another. And the first ghost I love, that I said I would touch on, is Morty. Morty is a film director ghost. And I really like him because he really shows no malevolence towards Luigi. All he really wants to do is make his movie, and you help him. Basically, what you do is you will fight a ghost in a Godzilla costume while you're being filmed, and it's just so ridiculous seeing Luigi as a kaiju fighting this ghost dragon. It is just, oh man, it's adorable. And Morty's giving you feedback as you do it, and eventually you beat him, and then you beat the ghost. And then Morty will take the film, and he'll go back and he'll start editing the movie. And you can watch the movie. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I never went back and visited him, because I just thought, well, he's just making a movie, you know? But I later found out that you can either just let Morty make his movie, or you can capture him, and Luigi doesn't really feel good about capturing him, which, you know, he's Morty, you know, he was never really malevolent toward Luigi. And then another ghost I really liked, more so for her appearance than anything, was Helen Gravely herself. She reminded me a lot of Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove. Just sort of the sunken-in cheeks and the purple hair and the long purple dress reminded me a lot of Yzma. And then I saw her creepy obsession with King Boo, and that reminded me even more of Yzma due to the fact that she was crazy obsessed with getting rid of Cusco, the rightful emperor of whatever Mayan society he was supposed to be in charge of. And a couple ghosts that I really did not care for would be, I don't know his name. It was in the medieval castle level, and his boss fight was just bull. The way it behaved, basically he ran around in a circle, making you think you had to do something to him then, but then he'll just start charging at you, and then you have to flash him with your strobe bulb, which does make another appearance in this game, but I'll touch on the Poltergust GOO here in a second. It was just a very frustrating fight. It really wasn't made all that clear what you had to do to him until you just did it. And then the other one, which is part of a very unnecessary level, and it also goes in hand with what I'm going to talk about with the Poltergust, is you go down to the second level of the basement, and you have to fight this sort of like engineer maintenance guy who works on the hotel's plumbing and stuff. And the reason why you fight him is because you're trying to get a part you need for your Poltergust. And the boss fight with him is so excruciatingly painful. It takes place in this large body of water, this large tank. And he's floating around on like a duck inflatable, and so are you. And controlling that duck inflatable is nightmarish. It's terrible. It sucks. And it makes getting around... What you have to do is he'll drop water mines into the water. And you somehow have to get him to smack in the mine, and it'll blow him off the rubber duck onto the floor beside the tank. And if you blow him to the opposite of the tank where you are, then you have to get to the ladder, get Luigi off the duck, have him run all the way around the tank, and flash him before he decides to get back on the duck. And he doesn't wait long. So it made it even harder, so you always have to try to get him to hit a mine near the ladder, so that way you could get up, get over there, get on the ladder, flash him, and suck him. Which is very suggestive now that I think about it. But anyway, I spent maybe half an hour I never died, but I was delicately and slowly trying to just get him where I needed him so I could defeat him. And I think that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks of the game, that floor. And I'll talk about another drawback right after I get done speaking about the Poltergust G00, which I think has become my new favorite Poltergust. The basic feature set is you have your vacuum, your sucking and blowing. Then you have your strobe bulb, of course, which, you know, you can charge up and flash multiple ghosts or just one. The dark light makes a return, which I really like that because I remember in the last video I talked about wanting to defeat ghosts with the dark light, and they kind of do that here. Kind of. Basically, there are new illusion balls that can animate inanimate objects, like a trash bin. So you have to use your dark light device on the object to get rid of the animator balls, and then you have to suck them up like you would normal illusionary balls. So it's not quite what I wanted, but it's still really cool. And I'm glad they implemented that, because it gives you another reason to use the dark light. Although most of the time it's just animating trash cans. So maybe that can scale that up if Luigi's Mansion 4 is ever a thing. And it probably will be, because this game actually really is really super good. So let's talk about new features, because I believe there's in total 3. I think there's 3. If you press ZR and ZL, there is a sort of a, not really a jetpack, but there is a high-pressure pump on the bottom of the Poltergust that sends out a gust of air and propels Luigi up into the air and knocks away all the ghosts surrounding him. So if you get cornered, you can just blast him back. And I found myself using that quite a lot, because they really throw the ghosts at you at this game. There's not a lot of, there's not a wide variety of general ghosts, which kind of sucks, because the first game had a really good variety. The second game, not so much. I would say that there is a stronger variety in 3 over 2, but neither of them stack up to the first in that respect. Another feature introduced is Luigi. Luigi resides in a compartment on the back of the Poltergust, and Luigi can summon him and basically inhabit his consciousness to control him, so he can go places Luigi can't, like through iron spikes or through arrows, all those sorts of hazardous environments. And then the final feature, I think, is really pointless, because in my playthrough I only ever used it once, and I went through a whole level to get it, that basement level. It's a part that EGAD equips to your pack that will basically let you plug it into an electrical socket, and it magnifies the suction power of the Poltergust. Basically turns it into a giant whirlwind that can rip the freaking drywall off a wall. I used it once, and that was to get entrance into the pirate floor, like the sort of nautical themed floor. And I only know of one other place you can use it, and that is in the spa floor, spa kind of fitness sort of floor. A gym, I guess. It just seems so pointless. I really don't get why they added a whole level just to use that part in the main story once. I think that was really unnecessary, and I do think that's probably the worst part of the game, which the second worst part of the game would probably be the money you collect. It's pointless. EGAD does let you buy like some extra lives and like a boo finder device for your communication device, which in this game is a virtual boy called the Virtual Boo. Haha. What the money does is, like in the first game, how much money you collect determines the quality of the mansion EGAD builds you at the end of the game, which, if I remember correctly, the canonical mansion is D rank, or was it C rank? It was one of those, so apparently Luigi didn't even do that well canonically anyway. And the same thing happens here. At the end of the game, the hotel is destroyed, so EGAD builds a new one for the ghosts. And depending on how much money you collect depends on the quality of the hotel. So, I got rank D, if I remember right. Yes, that's what I got. And really, that being the reward I got for collecting the money that I did, it was just kind of like, you know, I really don't care. But I think those are really my only two misgivings with the game. So I think in terms of how it does compared to its predecessors, I think this was the game fans were waiting for. I think it really does take the best of the first game and the best of the second game and mash it into one. Like, lots of exploration, humanoid ghosts, the control scheme of the second game wasn't great, and it does retain that scheme, kind of. You can kind of get it to act like the first game, but it doesn't really bother me, so I'm not going to count it as a negative. I would put it above Dark Moon. I really want to call it my favorite game, but nostalgia still points me back towards the first. And I accept that we'll never have a game like the original Luigi's Mansion again, and I am fine with where the series has gone. And I really do anticipate a new game in the coming years, because Next Level Games really did hit it out of the park with this. So now, another thing I wanted to touch on, which I just thought was awesome, was that that dog Luigi adopted at the end of Dark Moon, Polterpup, he saves Luigi's behind several times in this game. It seems like every time Luigi was going to get done in or die, Polterpup's like, nope, not today. He's such a good dog, a sweet dog too, and the relationship he and Luigi have is just so sweet. And of course, he does revive you if you have a gold bone when you die. I apologize. Speaking of Polterpup, if you remember, I complained about all the missions you had to do tracking him down in Dark Moon. They get rid of that, kind of, in this game. You're not chasing down Polterpup, he's your dog. But Helen Gravely has a cat, and you only have to chase her down twice in the game. There's only 2 missions where you have to do that, which is fine. They don't go on long, they don't overstay their welcome, and it's only twice. And what I like about this cat is that at first she appears all sweet and nice, and then she turns into this gigantic werewolf-looking, werecat, I guess, looking thing that just slashes at Luigi with her claws, and it's a little unsettling. It's not, like, totally scary, but it's not something I would have ever expected in the game. So, you know, just to sum up, I love this game. I hope in the future Nintendo can kind of take a page out of its book and have the Mario Brothers emote a lot more, maybe even speak. They don't have to speak full sentences, and they don't in this game, but seeing them all interact, even with small conversations like good night, 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 you know. It was really heartwarming and sweet. Or when you rescue Mario at the end of the game, and you find Peach's portrait, he's like, hey, bro, help, help, save Peach, you know, while pointing at her portrait. Just watching them, I wish this was a movie. If Illumination can do something like this with that Mario movie they're working on, it'll be a hit. You know. Well, I think I've talked your all's ears off for quite long enough. So until then, I'm Professor Kagan, so keep calm and keep busting ghosts. Take it easy.